I consider it a big fight because what did I say? John, give me a little pat on the back because almost over a year and a half ago, I said he's going to fight out his contract, Nate Diaz with the UFC.
He wants to fight Jake Paul.
Yep. And this is where we're at. And I'm going to continue to say this. He's going to go back and get the Conor fight.
Did I say 1 week? We're a couple days away, I guess.
Yeah. We're a couple days away. I think he's going to end up, no matter what happens in this fight, he's going to end up going back to the UFC and he's going to sign that fight with the Conor McGregor. I think that fight's going to happen.
And you take a look at what do we always talk about for fighters? Hey, see what your worth is. Well, he's going to make a shit ton for this fight with Jake Paul. And he goes back to the UFC. What's the only fight that he's going to make a shit ton?
Yeah. Can I ask you, do you think he'll make a shit ton? Because last I saw, the ticket sales of this fight weren't that great.
He still has a guarantee. And obviously, the more pay-per-views they do, that's the real question, and that's where he's going to make his most money. You can look at the butts in the seats that we always talk about, and that will definitely help his gate. But the promoter's the one that's going to eat it on that. The fighters aren't going to eat it on that.
Got it.
The promoter's going to eat it on that. So really, he has a set mark that he's going to get paid. I don't know what it is. But on top of that set mark, he will then get a pay dispersity when it comes to the first 100,000 pay-per-view buys. If it hits 200,000, if it hits 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, all those he gets additionally more. So, he has the ability, both he and Jake Paul, to make a shit ton of money, depending upon really it's pay-per-view, not how many butts are in the seats on this one.
My concern always will be that Jake is fast. Jake is young. Jake, sure, he doesn't have the experience that Nate has.
Jake's too fast.
I would have to agree with you. And one of the biggest things that I can try to explain to people is that when I fought Nate, I thought he was going to be faster than he was. And he was a lot slower than I thought he was.
Yeah. And that was how many years ago?
And it was. But what made me believe that, though, was when he fought Donald Cerrone. And I was like, dude, he was just peppering Cerrone and just tearing him up. And I was like, man, like it almost felt like he just couldn't see because he was fast. He couldn't see the punches coming. But when I fought him a couple years removed from that fight. It was probably about, 3-4 years removed from that fight. 3 years. It just wasn't, he was not fast. And I look at Jake's got the speed. Because even though Tyron Woodley was older, Tyron Woodley was still fast.
Yeah, he still had some speed in his hands.
And to knock somebody out the way he knocked out Tyron Woodley, being defensively and like understanding that to get in on a shot like that, you've got to have some speed. And he had some power and some speed behind that. And so, I don't know. I'm looking and we're going to see. This is when Nate's chin's going to truly be tested.
It's exactly, I look at it and, if you're a smart person, betting person, you got to say, look, everything leans towards Jake Paul. Except for the fact that Nate Diaz is a dog. He will not stop. And the real question is, how mentally prepared is Jake Paul to have somebody that he is blasting at times, basically looking at him and going, fuck you. That's all you got? Because you know what Nate says, and I've heard him too many times in the cage when someone hits him hard. That's all you got? Fuck you. Right? And he keeps going. And can that affect a fighter? It can. Will it affect Jake? I'm not saying it will. But when you're hitting somebody with your best shots and they're walking through them at times, that is psychologically, it gets to you. It does.
Especially to a young fighter. Like a young fighter like this.
Absolutely. And you got to tell yourself, no problem, I'm just going to touch you again. And that's something you learn through time, and that's what experience and everything does. Is the 8 fights that Jake has enough experience for that? I look at size-wise, he's the bigger, stronger fighter by far. I look at speed-wise, he's much faster. Youth, yeah. I would expect that, he's in as good a shape as Nate, because Nate's going to be in shape. Nate can go. Nate has already proven he's got a hell of a gas tank. So you look at some of the intangibles and you go, it's hard to go against Jake in this fight. But the thing that you can never count on is heart. And you know that Nate Diaz has got heart, for days. He will not quit, but I'm not sure he can take repeated big shots from Jake Paul.
Yeah, I don't think he can take repeated big shots from Jake Paul. I also think that because they moved this fight to 10 rounds, that makes a huge difference on how this fight should play out.
If you're Nate, if you get Nate into those later rounds.
But I also think, and look, we can say that we've seen Nate Diaz fight MMA, but we've never seen him fight boxing. I've seen him spar. I've never seen him fight. I've never seen him. I've never seen him fight.
You're right. You're right. I've seen him spar. I've not seen him.
Yeah, I've seen him spar as well. But I've never seen him in a real in a real boxing match. Yeah. The other thing is that when I had trained for him, I had made sure that I understood that he's not going to go down, and that not to waste my energy. Stick and move, circle, stick and move, circle. But I also looked at, and I'm giving this because you guys, when you guys are watching this fight, take a look at how Nate fights this fight in terms of, does he pressure him? Does he just walk at him when Jake circles off against the ropes? Does he chase him? Does he walk? Does he walk after him after Jake circles out? No. Get in this dude's grill and throw your shots. Yeah, and cover and counter, cover and counter, cover and throw.
Covering a space laterally. There's all kinds of exactly what you're
And so when you're watching this, if you see Nate just walking like he's got all the time in the world to get this win, he's going to end up losing. Now, if he comes in skipping at him a little bit, like a little bit of a shuffle towards him, like a boxer would, and then he'll come in defensively, let him throw his one big shot or his 1-2 big shot, and then look for Nate to let his hands go. And he'll just touch you. Yep. They don't need to be hard. If he can do that in the first, I'm not going to say the first round. I'm going to say the second, third, and fourth round. Because the first round, I think, is really going to be where he's got to show he's going to put pressure, but not allow Jake to really land the big hard shot and see what Jake does and how he reacts. If Nate walks him down, shuffles towards him, puts pressure, lets him throw his hard shot, and then comes to the body, then comes back up top to the head, and then as Jake circles out, he just shuffles towards him again, realizing that, look, I've only got 3-minute rounds or whatever it is. I've only got a certain amount of time to get after you, and each round I could be losing. I think that he's going to have to show that sense of intensity to get this job done, because I think Jake could easily walk away with the first 5 rounds and then Nate end up losing, a decision if it does get into those later rounds. He's got to show some intensity by the end of the second, into the third and the fourth and the fifth round. He can't let him steal those first 5 rounds. It's got to come down to that. And in terms of taking a shot, I think Nate will take the shot. He's got to just make sure he plays it safe in the first couple rounds. He's got to play it safe, be more defensive and then counter. And then as the fight carries on and you see Jake slowing down, then you start go ahead and get off first. I think he's got to wait to get off first because he's slow. You can't afford to try to get off first and have Jake counter you and land a big huge shot. He's got to put pressure, make him react, make him load up off that pressure, make him load up and throw his heavy hard shot, and then go ahead and touch him. Touch him with the body, touch him with the head, let him know you're there. And don't throw in just 1s and 2s like a lot of these guys that were fighting him were. Throws in 3s and 4s and 5s and 6s. Because we know Nate can do that in combinations.
Yep, no doubt about it. But I think the one thing you said, the body. You've got to attack that kid's body. There's one way to slow down someone who's in good shape and is physically strong. Body shots. Getting hit to the head, yeah, it can knock you out. But body shots will drain you of your strength. And I think that Nate needs to get into that early in the fight, get after the body, make him feel pressured. That will help gas him out even more. And at 10 rounds, drag him into the deep waters.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time.
100% agree.